Hi ladies, so good morning. So in today's video, I really wanted to reinforce what I told you guys in my how to contour for a wider, bigger nose, the Tree of Life technique. And for this exercise, I thought it would be really nice to use Nene. Very often here on YouTube, people will use Kim Kardashian as a reference on how to contour. But for us, if we're black or even if we're Asian also, or we are of an ethnicity where wider nose are more common, I don't think Kim Kardashian is very suitable for this exercise. So I'm approaching this in a very professional light. So please, I don't need you to leave any comments about her nose or whatnot. You are watching this video because you want to know how to contour, and we want to be able to recognize the different Tree of Life techniques that her makeup artist and Nene herself, because Nene does her own makeup sometimes, like we saw in Anguilla, are using to make her have a smaller or a slimmer nose. Okay, so this is just about the makeup. Please don't leave any mean comments or degrading comments, because I will delete your comment and you will be blocked. Alright, so class is in session. Let's start. So to start this exercise, let's begin with the genesis. That's Nene without the nose job. So we can see here in this video, the thing with Nene is she already has a long bark. When you look at her nose naturally, and by the bark, I mean the bone that goes from like the middle of your brows all the way down to your nose, the bottom, the tip of your nose. So she already has that. So, but in this video, she really wasn't contouring, maybe a small highlight on the bark of the nose, and that's it. And I've talked about this technique. That's like when you just highlight the bark of your nose. But like I told you guys, when you have a wider nose, usually, if you have a black nose, although you may have a long bark, you still have the meat, like I said, sorry, on the side of your nose. So if you look at her nose, you see the part that's highlighted, but then you can kind of see the meat on the side of the nose. So for me, I would say this is not a perfect contour and highlight of a wider and a bigger nose, okay? Good. And when I say wider and bigger nose, yeah, get comfortable with it, because my nose is big and my nose is wide. So it is what it is. All right. Now let's talk about Nene's nose post-surgery and how she highlights and contour post-surgery. So now what we see is she's still highlighting the bark of the tree. So look at the middle of her brow, slightly below the middle of her brow. You see the highlight starts there, and it goes all the way down to the tip of her nose. Now, when it comes to the contour, she's only contouring her nose on the inner sides of the nose. Let's look inside the inner socket of her left eye and her right eye, and you'll see what I am talking about. Okay, so that's what you see there. But the nice thing about this one, or you may not notice, but if you look carefully, she does the head of the tree, but it's not connected to the bark of her tree. Take a second and look at that closely. So when you see something like that, what it does is it does highlight her forehead, because there is some highlighting going on the forehead. The fact that she only contours the inner part that is like near her eyes, inside the socket of her eyes, it does give her a smaller bark at the top of her nose. But the fact that she doesn't take it all the way down, what that does is it elongates or it widens her nostrils again. Because you see it, you have where it is contoured, the nose seems smaller. However, by not contouring the sides of her nose all the way down the tip of her nose and hiding the meat on the sides like I talked about, okay, what it does, it makes it seem as though her nostrils actually start where her fine lines begin. Look at it carefully. And in terms of width, the fine lines are also included in her nostrils. Like, so if you look carefully, look closer, you'll see what I mean. So she's actually given herself a wider nose at the bottom. She's elongating her nose from the start of her bark, but when she gets to the middle of her nose, she's giving herself a wider nose by not completing that contour and hiding the meat on the side. I really hope I make sense. So moving right along, we're going to see another technique that Nene used, and I think this one is better than the ones we've seen so far. So in this one, she's also going to highlight the bark of her tree. Okay, that's the bridge of her nose. And she's also going to darken or contour the sides of her nose. That means like cover all that meat with a darker shade or foundation of powder like I did in my video. And that's what you're seeing here on the left with that green arrow pointing to the side. Now, if we look on the right, you can actually see that by using this technique, what that does for her is that it doesn't include her fine lines as part of her nostrils. So it really does a good job at defining that nose for us. And then putting it all together, what we see is that by highlighting the bark of her tree or the bridge of her nose, she does a really good job at slimming that nose down for us, okay? Then the green arrow shows us that the contour or darkening of the meat on the sides of her nose starts from the inner socket right underneath the brow, inside the inner socket, all the way down to the tip of that nose. And what that does for us, it does a good job at isolating that nose, and I really like that. Lastly, what the little yellow arrow is pointing to is that it's showing now that by hiding the meat on the side of her nose by making it darker, now her nostrils are not included as part of her fine lines, and that's good. So she did a really good job at not widening her nostrils like she had done before. So now let's talk about the present. And this picture right here is one of my favorite pictures by Nene, and her tree of life technique here is superb. She has all the elements down. She has the head of the tree, she has the bark of the tree, she also gave her tree the two arms, that is, you highlight underneath each brow, okay? The contour starts from the inner socket underneath the brow, inner socket of the eyes, all the way down to the tip of her nose. She also does a really good job at not including her nostrils as part of her fine line. So that nose is very well isolated, okay? So let's go here and look at it closer. So like I said, the yellow circle represents the head of the tree, okay? The purple line is going to represent the bark of the tree. So she's highlighting the ridge of her nose all the way down. They're connected. You can actually see it because of her bang, but they're connected all the way down the tip of her nose. All right, she's contouring that nose, like I said before, starting underneath the brow, inside the inner socket, and coming out all the way down those nostrils, all the way down the tip of her nose. So that is great. Next, looking at the green arrow, what that does for us is that it points the fact that she does a really good job at separating her nostrils from her fine lines, okay? Because part of also making your nose appear slimmer is not only to perfectly highlight the bridge of your nose or the bark of the tree, but it's also to have those nostrils, they need to seem small. The smaller the nostrils appear, the smaller the nose, okay? And that's what she does. So the nose is very well isolated. The nostrils are very small, okay? And I really, really like that. Now, the last thing I want to point out, you can also see it because she's wearing the bang. But another thing that's very important in making your nose seem smaller, when we talk about highlighting, when we talk about defining the bark of that tree, is making sure that your eyebrows are not too far apart. And here you can see it in this picture that the brows are close enough together so she doesn't have a unibrow, but it really gives her a nice bark, okay? But I'll talk about that in another video. So, ladies, I hope you enjoyed this video. I try to make it short. Feel free to look at more of her pictures and kind of recognize the different techniques that she's using. And also feel free to watch this video over if you need to look at the pictures one more time. Alright, so that's it, and I'll see you in my next video. And a big thank you to Nene for being a good sport, okay? And the thing with makeup, guys, you see, the more you do it, you get better. When you look at people's pictures or celebrities, you know, take the time to look at the pictures and look at how they're doing what they're doing so you can also improve. It's just makeup, and we're getting better with it every single day, alright? So if you're not a subscriber of mine, please subscribe, rate, comment, like the video, share the video, and I will see you guys in my other video pretty soon. So guys, have a blessed day, and bisous bisous, and see you in the next video. Bye.